board meeting. And to be honest, we didn't realize that this was going to be required in the minutes because that wasn't part of the upfront. They just changed how you apply for weather days. It was never called an emergency declaration before. And so the way it worked this time around is if you cannot meet your 180 days and you want to be assessed based on your number of hours at the secondary and elementary level, then you need to show a couple of things. One, that you've met the hours, and that's what these minutes would do. But the other piece is you have to have provided data to them of the average number of days that you lost due to weather for the last 5 years, and then tack 2 days onto that. And if you still had more than that, then odds are you were going to be approved for this request. So we averaged, well, this year was 8 days lost to weather. The 3 preceding years were kind of low compared to that. In no particular order, 4, 3, and 2 were the previous 3, and then 4 years ago it was 8 again. So you average that, you're at 5, you had 2 on that 7, we had 8, so that's why they approved it. So the specific instances that they approved it for, I was only asking for certain bodies of students. And so one of them was January 8th of this past year, PM kindergarten was canceled at all elementary schools due to early dismissal due to weather. The second request was due to the power outage at Bedminster back in March. And then finally, seniors, their 180th day would have been after the Lehigh graduation. So they end up on June 13th, that's 178 days. So the request really was for seniors to be permitted to graduate based on their 990 hours requirement, and for PM kindergarten and the Bedminster school to be assessed on the 179 days. But in lieu of that, it would have been the 900 hours of instruction for grades 1 through 5 and 450 hours of instruction for the kindergarten. And so that was all approved, but now they want us to submit minutes to say that we indeed hit that number of hours. And we exceed that because we have, we started the year with 181 days, so we're actually okay. That was our first day lost to weather, so that's one of those days right there. But we far exceed those hours, so we are in good shape, and we documented and sent all that in. So this vote is the minutes that we required to send in, and then there would be no subsidy loss when we submitted our hours and our PINs uploaded.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board members?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a comment. This is the first time since 1994 that we have had to go this route. Obviously, the law has changed, but in the past, you did have to apply for permission to use the hours, and we have always met both the 900 and the 990 hours pretty easily. 1994 was an unusual year. It started with a school strike, as I mentioned in talking about Dr. Kish, and was followed by 14 days of inclement weather. So the consequence of all that was, even with a lot of extra days put into the calendar here, there, and everywhere, we ended up with only 171 instructional days that year. So, it was before we went to the 184 days that we had previous to the now 181 days of instructional time, so we didn't have that cushion, plus the fact that the combination of 2 kind of negative events, at least from the school year point of view, pushed us into that situation. But it's been since 1994 that we've had to go this route.
I remember those days as a student too, with all the snow. I appreciated the extra days off, I'll tell you. Any other questions or comments from board members? No? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, and the next activities meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 10th in this room.
Thank you. Okay, curriculum?
The curriculum committee did not meet, and the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 10th, again in this room.
Okay. Facilities, Mrs. Dolan is not here, so I will go through this for her. The first is a motion to approve the facilities minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Okay, the second motion, I'll make a motion to approve items A through F, obsolete items. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Rice. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. The next motion, I'll make a motion to accept and award the following bids, A through E, for vans and buses. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Walters. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 8-0. I'll make a motion, oh, hold on. Motion to seek bids for the 2019 capital projects located on the 6-year capital projects plan. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Kraus. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. I'll make a motion to approve Dewey Engineering to study grass fields around the Penridge High School and Penridge North Middle for a potential future capital project. Do I have a second? Seconded by Ms. Kildare. Questions or comments from board members?
Yes, I was unable to attend the Finance Facilities Committee meeting last week. Do we know what kind of improvements we wish to make here? Are we looking for a list of improvements? What is the situation?
So when we were going over the Mr. Loeffler's long book of of projects that he had, one of the things that was on there was, over a period of time, fixing the grass fields around the whole district. And so we had talked about putting those together and kind of looking to bid it out in different ways so that we could see what the most cost-effective way is to get all of these done, and in a way that it doesn't jeopardize the usage. If we do all of them at once, then obviously we wouldn't be able to use them for a couple of growing seasons. So the best way to do that, so Mr. Loeffler was going to put a couple of different options together, so that's what they're looking at, is what improvements need to be done to be able to fix those grass fields and do the drainage and releveling. Any other questions or comments?
So at the elementary schools, do the fields include the playground? I'm just remembering back from my time at Grass, the playground drainage there was an issue. So is it just the fields or the fields and the playground?
It would be all of that. It would be all of the drainage and all of the drainage that issues and field. And so they're going to go through actually and assess how much the fields are being used, because are they certain fields at certain buildings may or may not be being used. So all of that they're going to look at. But this particular part of it is just to look at the Penridge North part. I'm sorry, Penridge High School and North part. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Loeffler, did I do okay on that, or did you want to add anything?
No, you did fine.
Thank you.
Larry, from here. Can you hear me?
I would go good for the sake of the audience. It's not just.
Is it my deep loud voice? In my last night?
Yeah, we want to get your full profile.
What's that?
I want to get your one last full profile.
Yeah, actually you did. If you remember, probably about 8 years ago, we did a survey up there with Mr. Babb, or maybe even Jeff, Mr. Babb, about the field usage up there. And so we do have a matrix of the usage then, and that was probably when the turf was just going down. But when we take another look on the usage now, these fields have really never been touched. They're a little lopsided, they're probably a little uneven, they're a little cattywampus. So I think the plan back 7 years ago was kind of take off the top 14 inches of what's up there, get the proper drainage in, and then replant soil. So most of it's drainage issues.
As I recall, one of the issues there, that meaning here at the high school at North, also was because of the usage, you just couldn't reseed and keep the grass in good shape because there were too many people using too little space.
Correct, yeah, especially the football practicing up there and other groups right on top of it. So, and we're also gonna take a look at, like above north, which is, again, we're gonna talk to Mr. Babb and see how it's used, but if that's strictly Yellow Jacket soccer, maybe we'll hold off and concentrate on the Penridge students first, if we have to break it into two parts, but they're gonna come back with a big plan.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. I'll make a motion to approve Dewey Engineering to study each elementary school for the purpose of adding air conditioning to the large space areas. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mrs. Walters. Questions or comments from board members? I guess I'll just add, for the audience, those, or did you want to add a little bit about the large spaces? Did you want to kind of explain that?
I would just like to clarify what is being proposed and what is not being proposed. This motion will not authorize air condition at the 7 elementary schools. This is a motion to authorize the study to what it would take and what it might cost to put air conditioning in the what I would call the 3 large spaces of each elementary school. The elementary schools currently have air conditioning in their libraries, in their computer labs, and then there are some offices and then some other spaces that, depending on the setup and how the building was originally used. This would look at their gymnasiums and their cafeterias or their multi-purpose rooms, in addition to the library, to provide 3 large academic spaces that students and teachers could utilize if the weather were such that the heat in the classrooms was oppressive. That would allow them to develop a schedule that students could rotate in at appropriate academic times. It might be for reading activities, it might be something where they take computers in, it could work on computers on certain projects, where they would utilize those 3 spaces. This is not authorizing air conditioning for the elementary schools. This is to authorize a study of those to consider the possibility of what those costs might be as early as next summer.
Thank you. We did have a rough estimate so far, which is in the neighborhood of $1 million, so that's what we're looking at. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Okay, the next committee report is for finance. Oh, I'm sorry, let me just... The next facilities meeting is scheduled for September 11th. And for finance, I'll make a motion to approve the August 14th Finance Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Questions or comments from board members? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 8-0. I'm going to make a motion to approve contracts A through F. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Kraus. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement to sell meals from Penridge School District to Bucks County IU for Head Start Early Learning Program. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Walters. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0. I'll make a motion to approve settlement agreements for students identified as 2019-04 and 2019-05. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cullen. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 8-0. I'm sorry, opposed? Motion passes 8-0. Sorry. And the next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for September 11th. The next committee report is for the intermediate unit. We have not met since our last meeting. The next meeting is tomorrow. I did just want to add a little bit of clarity to one of the topics that I talked about last month, since I've learned a little bit more about it. The intermediate unit has been able to obtain contracts for the Head Start program, the pre-K counts, and they offer the early intervention for students with IEPs that are in the age ranges of 3 to 5. And so by having all of those components, what they're looking to do and what they're starting to do, and they've started this at the lower end of the county and they're working their way towards the upper end of the county, and they're really leading the way across, for all of the other counties. And what they're doing is they're taking the highest standards, because each of those different, like pre-K counts and Head Start, they have higher standards in different areas. So what they're doing is they're taking the highest standards for both of those, and hiring and creating and getting the curriculum in line with all of it, so that they can offer classes that meet the needs of students in both of those programs, as well as students with special needs who have IEPs and qualify for the early intervention. And what they're doing is having classrooms where they're inclusive classrooms, where they're including all three groups. And by combining those together throughout the county, they're more local options, because you're combining all three groups into each building, and it's making it a more inclusive setting. And so, then it's a co-teach when they include the early intervention. It's a co-teaching environment, and so it's really leading the way. And so it's something that we should be really proud of, and it's neat to see what they're doing. And we have currently a pre-K counts class that's at Diabler and one that's at West Rock Hill. And it's not completely at the co-teach model yet, but their intention is to move in that direction for all of them. So, that's what they're doing to really help with our early childhood in the county. And the other counties are watching to see what this looks like, but it's, some great things that they're doing. So just wanted to share that. The next committee report is personnel. Mrs. Walters.
Okay, I have 3 items. The first is a motion to approve Kelly Harper as Director of Operations effective September 17th, 2018, at a salary of $108,483.
Thank you. That was a motion by Mrs. Walters. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rice. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
With that appointment, I would like to take an opportunity to introduce Mr. Kelly Harper. Kelly, would you stand, please, so I'm bragging about you, people can see who we're talking about. Mr. Harper comes to us from a district close by that begins with the letter Q, where he has served as their Director of Operations for the past 11 years. Prior to that, he was the Assistant Plant Engineer for Montgomery County and the lead HVAC mechanic at the Montgomery County Community College. He has also taught HVAC at Delaware County Community College and recently received his Bachelor's in Business Administration from Albright College. He and his wife Valerie have 5 grown children and 4 grandchildren and live in Gilbertsville. We were fortunate to find someone as qualified as Mr. Harper, and we look forward to his many years in the district. Welcome, Kelly.
I'd like to thank the administration and the school board for giving me the opportunity to serve and join the Penridge family. I can assure you won't be disappointed with your decision. And Mr. Loeffler, he served here a long time, and it's some big role to fill, but I'm up for the challenge. Appreciate your support for that. Thank you.
Also, with that appointment, we do need to recognize our current Director of Operations, Mr. Jeff Loeffler, who is retiring in September after 11 years as the Director of Operations in Penridge. Mr. Loeffler is truly a son of Penridge. He and his wife both graduated from Penridge High School. Jeff told me it was the class of 2002. Who am I to question? And they have raised their 2 sons in this community. He was a community ice hockey coach, which I didn't know, and will be remembered for the pride that he shows in his work every day. The buildings in Penridge are not new, but they are tremendously cared for, and that is a tribute to both Jeff's leadership and the hard work of his department. His most recent legacy will be the capital projects plan that he is leaving for Mr. Harper, and that will continue to shape the care for our facilities over the next 6 years. Jeff, congratulations on your retirement, and thank you for your service to the Penridge community. I am sad that I will not have more time to work with you. Please do not be a stranger. Congratulations. Salman DeCargo.
I'll take it.
Car comes right after.
Well, thank you. For a long time, I felt like the rookie around here. And then all of a sudden, boom, you know, it's lots of new faces and a lot of people are gone and I'm the old guy around here. Thanks to Peter for
Being older?
staying here longer than me. But I met Peter 20 years ago, going back to the VOTEC days. I'm sad to say one of the last things Dr. Kish said to me was, invite me to your retirement party. So I'm a little sad about that. I was ice hockey coach for 12 years for Penridge. I was a baseball coach for 5, 6, or 7. My oldest son graduated in 2001. I graduated in 75, before this was even built. But thanks to Sean, you've been great to work with. Thanks to the original board, and I've been able to work with almost everybody a little bit here and there, and it's been great. I'm honored to work here. I live around the corner. We have a saying, we bleed green, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, Dr. Bolton was pretty impressed with your ability to change the air conditioning with your cell phone when we were in a meeting from home. So I'm sure that that's one of the skills you're going to teach to Mr. Harper right off the bat, right?
So yeah, it was kind of funny to get an email, it's a little hot in here, okay, I got you. Who told you I could do that from home?
Megan?
Thank you.
Technology.
I just wanted to add one little thing. We had a building usage study, which some people might remember, and one of the things that I was kind of proud of, had nothing to do with my work, but I was proud for Penridge, that the firm that came and did the study, one of the things they said was how impressed they were with the life left in our buildings and how well they're maintained and with the plan. So kudos to you.
Okay, the next item is I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement between between the Penridge School District and employee number 403.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Walters. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. Kildare. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes 8-0.
Okay, and then the last item is a motion to approve a resolution regarding employee number 8841 and employee number 800. Oh, I'm sorry, 7800.
Thank you. Motion by Mrs. Walters. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Yarnell. Questions or comments from board members? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
Okay, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 4th.
Thank you, Mrs. Walters. The next committee is policy. Ms. Kildare.
Policy did not meet. They will be meeting on September 4th.
Thank you. Next is the Upper Bucks County Technical School. Dr. Yarnell.
Thank you, Mrs. Venus Clemens. We did meet on Thursday the 16th. I want to thank Dr. Bolton for stealing my thunder, as he does routinely seemingly, so I'll expect that in the future. The most important part by far of our meeting was that we did honor Dylan Miller as the second place, the silver medal winner at US Skills, their Skills USA. And obviously the highlight of this show, as you mentioned, was the Harley Davidson that somehow magically appeared in the boardroom at the Votech. An impressive machine to be sure. And of course, Dylan won that for the school, but we should also note that Dylan won $17,500 worth of scholarships, an array, a large array, as I understand it, worth of tools. It was an issue of how he would get them back from Louisville to Penn Ridge or to this area. Gift cards and various other things. And because, well, maybe not because of that scholarship, but I believe because of the scholarship, he's headed to Ohio Technical College in Cleveland, which is